Hello, my name is Tate, and I'm conducting an interview today from Urban Possibilities with the Vice President of the Los Angeles Mission, Mr. Dr. Morgan. How you doing, Mr. Morgan?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing very well.
Okay.
So I chose to interview you because I noticed right away that when you took over the role of VP at the program, your respect was automatically given right away by the staff and also the students. And you have to answer that?
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't that you said or did things that always went our way.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times it was stern discipline, but the point that you were trying to make was understood by everyone, the message. And once I spoke with you briefly, I heard some things, and some things were restored in your life. I have similar interests, similar goals, and I noticed that you're restoring lives here as well as hope.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought you would be an interesting man to interview.
Well, I'm honored.
Yeah. Well, honor's ours. I would like to start off first by asking you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
There's a lot to tell. What would you like to know specifically?
Briefly, like what landed you or even equipped you to take on the role that you have now?
Well, I'm from the Deep South, and I grew up in an environment that was very challenging, to say the least, in terms of racially, in terms of racial prejudice, restrictive opportunities, stuff like that. And my dad and my mother were very intentional about getting us all education. My brothers and sisters, we all graduated from college and basically working in the people's profession. And so what prepared me for wanting to help people primarily was seeing the suffering of others, knowing that I had an opportunity given to me by my parents to be able to transcend my environment and go to college elsewhere to get expanded experiences of life, to realize that I didn't have to be defined by my environment. And I continued my education. I graduated from USC, then I went on to get a doctorate in theology, and then I went on to get a Master of Science in Marriage and Family Therapy, so that I can use the benefit of all that cumulative experience to be able to give to folks like yourself, as well as not only the academic and intellectual side of it, but also growing up, in a neighborhood with ex-cons and prostitutes and musicians and drugs and all of that back in the 1960s. So I know that what people in the mission are finding is nothing new. But of course there's a lot of elements that they're having to face that was not necessarily prevalent in the 60s. So I can use all that experience to come to a place like the Los Angeles Mission, and hopefully through those experiences and my education help change lives.
Well, that's good. Well, that brings me to my next question, because me also being a product of my environment, but not exactly being or glorifying that environment, I was wondering, were there any obstacles that you had to overcome in schooling?
Yes. I went to an all-black private school until about 8th grade, and then it was time for integrating the school. So I was transferred to an all-white private school, and one of the big challenges there, and I was one of the smartest in the whole school, in the black school, but one of the challenges in the white school is I couldn't understand the English. They were using words that I had never heard, so it made it difficult for me to maintain my high grades, and my grades dropped, which really discouraged me. But what I did was I started studying vocabulary, which I do to this very day, because I vowed to myself that I'd never be in a position where I couldn't speak to somebody in the English language, whatever their strata was in society. And so that was a real challenge to overcome, I guess, the limitations of living in an African-American environment, and then coming to an Anglo environment and having to adjust to a whole new lifestyle. But I adjusted, and it went well. And I was accepted by the school. I was an athlete, all-state honors and stuff like that. Played several sports, so that enabled me to be accepted in that environment.
Wow, that's deep. Mm-hmm. All right, so right now we're going to take a short break. Thank you. So you said that you saw the suffering of others. Mm-hmm. So was that your motivation for going into this line of work? Not the schooling, but maybe for this line of work?
I think The motivation was seeing people who needed help, and also seeing the lack of people of color in the field of psychology and counseling, that people like myself who are culturally resistant to therapy could somehow be affected by me as a person of color, to let them see that you don't have to necessarily be someone who has to be put in an insane asylum in order to come for counseling to address your daily problems, whether it be familiar problems, whether it be marital problems, whether it be drug addiction, whether it be relational problems, whether it be socioeconomic problems, whatever it is, that you don't have to be insane in order to get help, or labeled as insane to get help. Right. And I think traditionally a lot of people of color, especially African Americans, especially where I come from, are a little bit suspicious of white people or people who are not of color. And I think that's just the truth of the matter.
Also, from my short experience on this earth, I noticed that our people, well, African Americans, don't traditionally go to therapy or seek counseling when they're dealing with certain issues. They may just feel confident in talking to a pastor, which you're also a pastor.
I am.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Did that tie in as well?
Yeah, it tied in the sense that I responded to a call to ministry, but I'd already been in the field of psychology. I'd been a director in the adolescent treatment program for a number of years, dealing with families, dealing with problem kids with drug addiction, had been mandated by the court because of recalcitrant behavior, missing school, gang banging, you name it, those kinds of things. So by being in ministry and also as a minister, really encountering issues that the church don't normally deal with, such as transsexualism as one topic. The church has not traditionally been equipped to deal with that magnitude of a question where you have to have some knowledge outside of the Bible, in a sense, to really be able to effectively deal with it and come up with answers and solutions that won't be harmful to the individuals that you're dealing with.
Wow. Well, going back a little bit towards school, I'm interested. What was the subject for your dissertation?
It was, for which one? My doctoral dissertation? Yes. It was the self, a psychological, philosophical, and theological perspective of biblical anthropology.
You still have a copy of that?
Yes.
Yes, I would like to read that. I would really like to read that.
Probably have to dig it up.
So now that you at the Los Angeles mission,
mm-hmm.
What prepared you, or what caused you to take this role here at the mission?
It was truly an act of God, because it wasn't on my radar even, and it was suggested to me by one of my members who had been a chaplain here for about 15 years, I think, and he said that, boy, there's a job at the mission, and you're the perfect person for it. So I said, well, I'll go on the website and see what it's about. And it was a position dealing with the clinical aspects, with the spiritual aspects. And I said, this is interesting. So I applied, and I understand afterwards that there was a search for a year, I think, or more, to find somebody for the position, and I happened to fit the criteria. So though I was last, I think, applying, I got hired, and I believe it was totally God.
Well, it helped for me, because when I came in, that's probably when you were looking. And now that you're active in the role, it's right at the point where I'm going to transition and go back. A wise man yourself once told me, you can be delivered, but you still have to work through. So I've been delivered, now I'm at the stage of working through. And another point, I don't have a father. But when you came in, the respect, and I said, wow, this gentleman has something that I want. I can learn from him. So immediately I started looking up to you as a father-type figure, which is another reason I would like to ask you. So since you have this position here, you know that you were called for this. What are your goals for, like, 1 year, 5 years, maybe even 10 years if you choose?
Well, one of my main goals is I'm mentoring men. I'm mentoring people in ministry. I'm doing a seminar coming up next month, Project Fatherhood, to try to give fathers some tools to be able to better access their abilities, to build their confidence and self-esteem, to give them collaborative referrals and resources that will enable them and help them to be able to be better fathers and provide for ways that are practically applicable to taking care of their children, and instill in them a confidence, because I find many African American males through the years have this voice going in the back of their heads, right, that no matter what they try, eventually they're going to fail. And so I want to address that voice and put another voice in their head that says you'll succeed.
Well, have you ever had that problem? Has that voice ever come upon someone, prestigious as yourself?
I think everybody has some second thoughts about things, but because I had such great parents and a very supportive father who would literally drive to other states to see me play football. And so I'm one of the few people that I know that had a strong father figure that gave me the best of who he was. And I'm striving to give that to others.
That's amazing. Well, one more question then. What advice would you give to someone like myself, someone who has similar goals?
I would say what the old folks used to tell us. Nothing worthwhile in life comes easy. So you have to work really hard. And you work hard for something, hopefully, that you love and is passionate about. So when you hit the difficult areas of your life, your passion won't allow you to quit, because that's the very thing you live for.
That's a good word.
So I would say find your passion, and I think if you can do that, you'll probably be successful.
Well, I appreciate your time.
You're more than welcome. It's my pleasure.
Once again, this is Anthony Tate from Urban Possibilities, and we just had an interview with the Vice President of Directors here at the Los Angeles Mission. Have a good day. Thanks.